Hi, this is Mark Laughlin speaking for the Ambidextral Gunfighter. A little review on the Tikka T1x. As the Ambidextral Gunfighter, I typically disparage bolt action rifles because, well, the way you have to operate them is different, left-handed and right-handed. So you can't really be unconscious about being right-handed, working your boat one way, and being left-handed and then having to come across and work it another way. So, but anyway, I've kind of gotten to where I've overcome that in a way, that prejudice, because the way I look at it is with bolt action rifles, you're not so much doing the multiple fire, rapid fire kind of thing and snapping out from cover, bam, 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 and then coming around and then bam, bam, bam. This is a little bit more okay. In this position, I'm going for a very accurate shot. I'm being precise, you know, urban sniper kind of thing. And it's better to shoot right-handed. This time, I get in there, make my shot, I'm done. In other situations, I'll find that based on the cover or terrain, it's better to shoot left-handed. And you know, I get the cartridge loaded, bang, I shoot the shot, and I'm done. So I'm less, like I said, a little bit less prejudiced against the bolt guns, and maybe it's just because I've had so much fun with the Tikka T1x and then also the Mossberg MVP Scout, which looks so much like this rifle, so given that I've got them both set up with the Weaver V3 optics. Now, speaking of the Weaver V3 optic, to get the proper scope position far enough forward for a good turkey neck cheek weld, it's a little bit, I couldn't, because of the Picatinny rail doesn't let me come forward over where the ejection port is. I'm limited on how far I can get this forward. Now, for when I'm running at 1 power, it requires a little bit more of a relaxed position on the cheek weld. I can't really turkey neck cheek weld it. It's just a more relaxed position, which is fine for like snap shooting, where you're bringing it up real quick and you're not really going up and then getting that turkey neck cheek weld. Now, when I switch to 3 power, it actually works pretty good. I can get quite a bit of my turkey neck cheek weld and be right at the proper position behind the optic. So it kind of works out, but it was really close on working out. I'm pretty much bottomed out on how far forward I can go on my rings here as far as moving the scope forward. So, but anyway, it worked and I really like it. So now, as far as a battle sight, battle sight 0 for a 22 rifle. I chose a 16 and 60 yard 0. That is near 0, 16 yards, arches over and drops down, and a distant 0, 60 yards. And according to my calculations, I would expect it to be, you know, a 0 like that. It would be a 1/2 inch high at 25 yards, 7/10 high at 50 yards, 8/10 of an inch low at 75 yards, and at 100 yards, that'd be 4.2 inches low. To get it at 16 yards, a 0, I would shoot a 1/2 inch high at 25 yards. So start at 25 yards, got my 0 there. I checked it at 50 yards and kind of refined my 0 at 50 yards so that it was 7/10 of an inch high, as best as I could tell, given the group that is mark. Okay, brought it back 2 clicks. Looks like maybe I need to come back 1 click. And then I went and tested at 100 yards. Now, I was expecting it to be 4.2 inches low at 100 yards, so I was holding up on the diamond on my zeroing target, holding up at the top of the diamond, expecting it to be about, you know, pretty much right on in the center of the target. Well, it turned out most of my hits were right up there where the right basically at the same level. The elevation was almost the same as point of aim. Point of impact was the same as point of aim. So and I was getting a little bit of a wind, so it blew it off to the right a little bit, but you know, that's not a big deal. I could have accounted for that, but I was basically just looking to check the elevation. And so I'm gonna have to kind of re-look at things. If that was true, that I'm basically zeroed at 100 and you know, about 7/10 high at 50 approximately, then you figure probably at 75 yards, probably should be at that point still about 3/10 of an inch high. And that's kind of what my experience has been since, kind of just out in the field doing shooting, shooting steel, setting up steel targets and clay targets out, you know, 25, 50, 75, and 100 yards, finding that, you know, that is roughly about where I'm at. Now the quality, this is a Finnish made rifle, Finnish made rifle, made in Finland, and the quality is exceptional. It just, I mean, you pull the stock off of this and you look at the quality of the metal work, and it looks gorgeous. Now, I'm not a metallurgist or whatever, but to me it exudes quality. Now, a lot of people disparage the polymer stock that comes with it and say that you have to go with a Boyd stock. Now, when I got this rifle, I got it used, and it came with a Boyd stock, and they included the original stock on it. Now I do like the Boyd stock. It is actually it's very rigid, free floated around the barrel quite nicely, good receiver support in there, and I do like the vertical grip that we can get in here, and with this vertical grip that gets my exaggerated C-shaped trigger finger pulling more straight back, whereas a curved grip you're more kind of pulling up. But the stock does weigh a pound more than the original, the stock from that comes with the Tikka. So I actually, because I spend more time out in the field, carrying this rifle in my in a backpack, using my mini-me backpack with the rifle scabbard, I like weight to be down as much as possible. I'd rather carry more ammo, carry water, first aid supplies, than carry an extra pound of stock. So I put the original stock back on, and actually I shoot this as well with this stock as I do the Boyd stock. The Boyd stock is great, there's no doubt about it. Shooting from a bench at the shooting range, this is a great stock. It does, with the heavier weight of the stock, I think the weight's probably what helps it more than anything. The heavier weight means that if your marksmanship fundamentals aren't perfect, if you're dragging wood, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, look that up. You can check my video on Appleseed Prep and talk about that. If you're not pulling straight back and on the trigger, this stock being heavier is going to deflect less. So if you're dragging wood, if you're like using a poor trigger technique, and you're dragging wood and you're pulling that stock off a little bit, this stock is going to deflect because of the weight. Physics is going to deflect a little bit less than this lighter polymer stock. So this is going to require better fundamentals, and this does have the pistol grip part of it. It's kind of modular. You can remove this original one, which has kind of this gentle curve on it, with one that's more vertical. Now I'll roll in some footage with where we're getting the more vertical version, because that allows us to get that more straight back. Right, with this one you're tending to kind of pull the trigger up a little bit, and with that more vertical grip you're pulling more straight back on the trigger. So that's going to be a little bit better for marksmanship. And I like the lightweight. Lightweight's great for when you're carrying in the field, but it does require that you have your fundamentals down to make accurate shots with the lightweight stock. I have not found that, to me, the receiver support on this is fine. The free floating of the barrel is probably not as perfect and as keen as it is on the Boyd stock here. And also with the sling on this one, when I'm using the sling for shooter support, maybe it's deflecting a little bit, might be touching the barrel. I don't know. I've just not found it to be a difference in accuracy for me. But I think, this has a pretty substantial barrel. This is a pretty good sized barrel. It's not a full bull barrel, but it's it's not a little pencil barrel either. And so it's pretty rigid. I don't think it's going to be deflected a whole lot. The harmonic's going to be, wiped out that bad with this, if this stock gets deflected and comes in contact with the barrel just a little bit, or if it's not free floated as well as the Boyd stock. So, and that's for me. I mean, there's people that are shooting these in NRL events, I guess, that probably find the better stocks a little bit more useful. But again, for me, where I'm actually carrying this out into the field, I like the lighter weight. Another thing I've got on this rifle is a Tactical Advantage Armory titanium flash hider compensator kind of thing. It's a really short, very lightweight, like 23 grams. Weighs probably about the same as like a thread protector. And well, I actually ordered this for my RDB, but it just didn't quite mate up with the way the RDB's threads are made. They're a little bit too long and requires use of that lock nut, and it just didn't work out. So I ended up putting on this just because it looks cool, and it makes it look a little bit more kind of like my Mossberg MVP Scout. Not that you need a compensator, I think, on a 22, but yeah, what the hell, you know, it looks great on the rifle. So anyway, yeah, that's a gorgeous piece of work from Tactical Advantage Armory. You can see it's got the compensator ports on the top and the kind of the muzzle brake kind of ports on the sides. Oh, another thing I like about the stock, and this applies to the Boyds as well. The Boyd stock does this well as well too, but it's perfectly symmetrical. There's you know, a lot of stocks you'll see have the cheek pad on one side but not the other, and for ambidextrous use you want this thing to be perfectly mirrored, so the cheek weld from this side is exactly the same as the cheek weld from this side. And so that's awesome. I actually like this design where it's kind of cupped out here. I don't know, it just seems to fit me good. And for the thumbs over, it just seems, you know, thumbs over trigger or grip technique and trigger, you know, exaggerated C-shaped trigger finger. It works great, but as does the Boyd stock too. I do wish it had detachable, you know, the little socket for detachable sling swivel instead of these old school FUD versions, but they're okay. I mean, they work fine. They're useful or workable. One thing also is the magazine. The magazine kind of reminds me of the Kel-Tec P17, which I happen to have right here. I pull the magazine out of this. So you can see there's the Tikka T1x magazine, and there's the Kel-Tec P17 magazine. This construction, the little, I don't know, they're both very, very lightweight, super lightweight, and polymer. And I think well, actually, I guess since the Tikka came out first, I guess it's more correct to say the P17 magazine reminds me of the Tikka T1x magazine. Now the magazines are a little bit expensive. They're like $34, I think, retail, and which is for the you know, little tiny lightweight things, plastic things, it's kind of a little bit excessive. But if you check on the Beretta is the importer in the United States for the Tikka firearms. So if you check the Beretta website often, and that's what I found, was you can find these on sale for, you know, I found them on sale, and then there was a coupon 25% off and free shipping if you ordered, I think it was $150. So I got a bunch of these, and that dropped the price down. I think it was around $22, which is not bad, you know, for these nice little magazines. I like them. They're 10-round magazines. Do have the little kind of the grip on the bottom, so they're not flush magazines, but I do find that the position of them is about right for where I like for, you know, a good balanced offhand hold. They're not in the way for that, and they have the kind of the little bit of a you know, slope there to kind of just kind of match up with your hand. The magazine release is right there. Now some people get there's an extended magazine release you can get for this. I suppose maybe that there might be some benefit to that. I've just not found it myself, looking at this magazine release and being wanting and needing something else. It just seems like this magazine release is like my finger hits it, and almost like as soon as it disengages, it slides off and connects with the magazine. I actually kind of like that. So I'm happy with the stock magazine. The trigger on this is crazy awesome. It's you know, I don't like to dry fire this, but I'll, you know, for the sake of science, we'll do it here. The trigger is just excellent. Crazy good trigger. And I find that I shoot this rifle, my groups, you know, compared to like my Ruger 1022 that's kind of basically built for Project Appleseed events, I find I can shoot groups probably about 2/3 the size of my Ruger 1022, and yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty nice. Now this little the bolt throw, you know, especially after working with the Mossberg MVP, this feels like a light switch. It's just like boom, 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 boom. It's just this, you know, tiny little throw. It's, you know, just, I suppose there's, I know there's probably people with way faster bolt throws, you know, bolt operation than I am, but this thing is just just so easy. The safety switch, you know, putting the safety on, pull it to the rear, and that not only puts the safety on, that actually locks the bolts. You can't even manipulate the bolt. So that's actually kind of cool. So if you have, you know, have this sitting around in your house and with the loaded magazine, maybe safety's on, and not only, so, you know, little kids can't deal with it, but really you should have it better secured than that anyway. But that's kind of cool. It's interesting when I look at the, when you pull the stock off of this, looking at the, you know, while all this, while the receiver exudes this, you know, exudes quality, it's kind of weird, this little spring that the safety switch is kind of runs off of. It's kind of almost floating out there. It looks a little bit weird. I mean, it works, and I'm sure it's been tested. I mean, I've not ever had it pop off or anything, but when you take the stock off, it just looks, it's kind of just out there, like, you know, just like it's gonna fly off or something. I don't know about under use, but it doesn't. It actually works really good. Very distinct clicks. I like that. You know, boom, it's safe is off, back, safe is on. So I like that. We do have a loaded, you know, a cocked indicator. Actually, it's not a loaded chamber indicator. It just tells you that it's cocked. It doesn't tell you the status of what's in the chamber. You still have to check for that. But to release the bolt, or to field strip it, it's very, very easy, you know, like a standard, almost any. But you got, it's a very sweet, very elegant little button here that you just push, and you got your bolt out. So, you know, nice stainless steel bolt. You know, one thing I've noticed compared to like my Ruger 1022 bolt action rifle, it just stays cleaner than my 1022, and I think that has to do, you know, where a 1022 is kind of a, you know, blowback design, where it's cycling after, as soon as it fires, and basically debris, you know, comes out. This, it's like bang, all your debris is going out the barrel. So there's, by the time you unlock and work the bolt, there's not much, you know, probably almost no pressure left inside the chamber, so there's no debris coming back into, you know, your mag well, trigger group. You know, the bolt face isn't going to be nearly as dirty. It stays way cleaner than any 22 that I'm used to. So this is my first bolt action 22 rifle, so, or at least since maybe when I was a little bitty kid. But very impressed with that part, that aspect of this rifle as well. Now, this rifle has a 16-inch barrel. They do have an option for a 20-inch. And, you know, if I was thinking, do I want the 16-inch with a suppressor or a 20-inch with no muzzle device? I think I would probably choose the 20-inch. You know, if I'd had the option, I traded for this, so you know, this just, it was 16-inch, so, you know, I went with that. But even with the 16-inch, this thing is like, compared to like most other rifles, and you know, my centerfire rifles for sure, but compared to even my Ruger 1022, is just super quiet. And part of that, again, I think the bolt being closed, all your noise is going out that way, all your debris, everything, the bullets, noise, debris out that way, so it's away from the shooter, and so it's pretty damn quiet. But one advantage of the 16-inch barrel is that it does fit better in a you know, like my backpack scabbard, for my rifle scabbard on my backpack, my mini-me Eberlestock backpack. You know, dropping this down in there, it's not sticking out quite as far. So if I had a 20-inch barrel, you know, I'd be sticking out another 4 inches out of the backpack. And it's really, with the way I got my backpack scabbard set up, it's really set up for like the Kel-Tec SU-16C, which folds up and is very compact. So fully stocked rifles tend to stick out a little bit far on that, but it works okay. So, but anyway, 16-inch barrel helps a little bit on the rifle scabbard side of things. Now, because of the quiet of the 22 rifle, especially the bolt action rifle, I'm looking at this as a, you know, not only is just a fun gun to shoot, you know, and practice with, and practice your marksmanship skills, but it's like this perfect end of the world, you know, Z-Day survival rifle. You can think of it, I mean, I can think of a number of scenarios, like imagine if you're in Robin Hood type world where, you know, Sheriff Nottingham, I think it was, you know, claims ownership of all the game in the world, and you can't shoot any of his game. So poaching becomes a means of survival. Well, in that kind of world, let's just say a government was to become that tyrannical. In that kind of world, a 22 bolt action rifle is going to be able to take game animals, and poachers have done it for years, taken deer with 22 LR, and a nice, quiet, you know, pretty quiet 22 LR bolt action rifle allows you to do that. Now the other thing is if you know, massive civil unrest and you become involved in the resistance, you know, against fascists and communists or some kind of tyrannical government, just, you know, speculative, you know, thinking here, and so and you have to be involved in maybe some urban sniping, taking out, you know, some fascist, you know, or communist commissars. And so the ability to shoot from buildings and with a low report, and you know, you can't quite, you know, get the range. You know, this is lethal, probably easily out to 300 yards. I mean, with the you know, the arch of the bullet, the trajectory, probably 300 yards is going to be absolute limit for, unless you're just crazy awesome with some, you know, some of these NRL shooters. But you know, out to 125, maybe even 150 yards, you know, you could certainly take out some bad guys with it and be quite quiet about it. With the light, you know, subtle report, it'd be, you know, you do one shot and it's going to be hard for anyone to pinpoint where did that shot come from, if they even heard it at all, above the average, you know, standard daily din of human existence. Now, something I've also experiment with is firing from within a vehicle, kind of to simulate shooting within a house or shooting from my RV. And so I set up you know, a steel target, steel spinner target out 40 yards away from my coach. Set up a put up a covering on my window, open the window and then put up the covering, and then create an opening with some saran wrap to kind of help maybe contain some of the muzzle blast, so that shooting through the saran wrap and then hitting the target, and really it takes it down to almost where anywhere, you know, anything outside of say 10, 20, 50 yards away from where the shot comes from, you almost can't hear it. In fact, you hear more of the operation of the bolt almost as much as you do the report of from the muzzle blast. Now, if you shot with subsonic ammo, you could get that down even a lot more. And as I understand, a lot of the NRL guys, when they do this long distance shooting, are actually using subsonic ammo in their rifles. And the reason they do that is because then it's not, you know, dropping out of sonic down to subsonic, and you have that period where you have that turbulence created from that change from sonic to subsonic, and you know, things become a little bit less stable, so your accuracy drops down a bit. So by staying subsonic from the whole whole trajectory, their accuracy is better. And you know, I'm not sure, but I think the subsonic probably, you know, I think out to 300 yards, maybe it was 200 yards, is still at 800 feet per second. So even at that range, it's still more velocity than a 45 ACP right out of the muzzle. So that's pretty interesting when you think about all this from an urban survival, urban resistance, you know, poaching in Sheriff Nottingham's world type of existence. You know, subsonic ammo may be the way to go, and that's an advantage that where you have this with the bolt action rifle, that you can run that subsonic ammo and it's going to be reliable. I mean, it's whereas a semi-automatic, you're very limited in, you know, you've got to have the ammo's got to be hot enough to cycle the action. So with a bolt action, you have that option of running subsonic ammo and having it reliably work and presumably get out of the barrel every time. CB caps maybe, you know, might, I don't know if a 16-inch barrel might probably still be fine, but you might have a little bit greater risk of ending up with a squib, which would kind of suck. I'm not sure the CB cap would, even if you had a squib, if you fired another CB cap on it, probably wouldn't wreck your barrel. But it, you know, if you were unlike maybe full long rifle cartridges would. So anyway, I don't know, but anyway, subsonic rounds out of a bolt action rifle, that's pretty, you know, pretty effective, you know, and would be reliable. Now the other thing is just the ability, you know, in the field, like I went out shooting out into the deep into some BLM land, did a lot of hiking and shooting from, you know, setting up my steel targets and shooting from all kinds of angles, different positions, you know, offhand, did you know, left and right, did my favorite position, squatting left and right, you know, prone from all different ranges out to about 100 yards, little over 100 yards, and had a lot of fun with it. And it was very cool because I was able to carry, you know, I carried 500 rounds with me and shot all 500 rounds out there. And you know, imagine packing 500 rounds of 5.56 or, you know, or 308. You know, 500 rounds was like a couple of pounds maybe, and it fit very easily into my backpack, so it was no problem. Whereas 500 rounds of 5.56 or 308 would be, that'd be a pretty decent loadout, and would definitely reduce my ability to carry, you know, more water, first aid supplies, you know, snacks, whatever, other things that might be more important. So anyway, very impressed with the Tikka T1x. I highly recommend it. I think, you know, the Ruger 1022, if you want to tend to Project Appleseed, is going to be a little bit better for that, just for that semi-automatic operation, because once you get your natural point of aim, and check out my Appleseed Prep series if you need to know all about that, link down in the description. But once you get your natural point of aim on a semi-automatic and you've found that natural point of aim, you pull the trigger, bang, and it's going to cycle. You don't have to change, you know, and you don't have to disrupt your natural point of aim. Whereas with a bolt action, you do have to, you know, work the action, and that will disrupt your natural point of aim, you know, a little bit. You'll be able to find it pretty quickly right back. But if you have a Tikka T1x or, you know, another bolt action rifle, or even a lever action rifle, I wouldn't, you know, rule out attending a Project Appleseed with it. It will make things just a little, maybe a little bit harder in some ways. A bolt action magazine fed is going to certainly be easier, I think, than anything tubular fed, whether it's semi-automatic or manual action. But so actually, you know, if I were starting from scratch and doing Project Appleseed, but I wanted a rifle for the, you know, end of the world Z-Day, you know, survival poacher, whatever, I think I might go with the bolt action, just for that ability to run subsonic and just that reliability of knowing that the cycling part of it is me. I don't have to, you know, rely on the power of the cartridge to cycle the action, and then also the fact that it's just going to be cleaner, run cleaner, and I think be a little bit quieter than the semi-automatic. So anyway, as you may have gathered, very impressed with the Tikka T1x. It's just enough where I might have to actually look at maybe some of their other, you know, centerfire firearms. Although I'm quite really happy with the, you know, Mossberg MVP Scout and 308, and also very happy with my BCM Recce, you know, AR-15, and also very happy with my Keltec RDB for gunfighting, you know, for gunfighting from cover, you know, left and right and all that. But again, I wouldn't be, you know, making accurate shots with this from cover for gunfighting in an urban environment where it's quiet, you know, in that period of time between full-on, you know, conflict, Mad Max type conflict, but where there's quasi still some rule of law and you don't want to be caught. This just, a bolt action 22 just may be the perfect rifle. It's Mark Laughlin speaking for the Ambidextral Gunfighter. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.